Pelosi is she is a political gangster. She is a thug. She is the kind of person that literally, had she been born in Russia, she would have been perfect for the Russian mob. She is somebody who literally can come into a room, put a gun on a table, belt back a glass of vodka and say, give me your money. Give me your money right now. That's the kind of woman Nancy Pelosi is. And so what she is now doing is she's trying now to crack heads and get her Democrats in line. And in particular, she is now threatening the insurance companies. Because what's happening is this. As the public option becomes more and more disagreeable to Americans, some turncoat Republicans, especially liberal Republicans like Senator Olympia Snowe from Maine, who to me is essentially a Democrat. She's a Republican in name only, a rhino. She is coming out with something that they're calling a trigger. Now, what this is this. These moderate Republicans are saying, look, let's not put a public option into the bill. Let's leave it out for now. But we're going to force the health insurance industry to pass market reforms. And these reforms have to have benchmarks that will assure quality and will assure access and affordability. Now, if those benchmarks are not achieved, then this will initiate what they call, quote, a trigger. It will trigger the public option. Then the public option will automatically kick in where you will have a government-run health care plan. And many Americans will be forced to take that government health care plan. So Nancy Pelosi, now we're going to have a nice clip where Nancy Pelosi openly threatens the insurance companies, where she says this, like a good Russian gangster. She says, take my offer or else. Play it, boys.
If they want no public option but a trigger, you can be sure that the trigger will bring on a very robust public option. So if I were advising the insurance company, I'd tell them, take this bill the way it is now. The best preparation for combat is combat. Our members have been engaged in the trenches on this issue. When they come back to Washington, they're ready for the fight.
Make him an offer he can't refuse. That's Nancy Pelosi in a nutshell. That's what you're seeing right there. She's basically telling the health insurance, the insurance companies, listen, either you accept government-run health care, you accept the public option, or I'll tell you what, we're going to get this trigger put into this bill, and when the benchmarks aren't achieved, oh man, we're going to give you even bigger government-run health care. We're going to really soak you. We're going to really tax you. We're going to really regulate you. We're going to bury you. So it's either our bill or even a worse bill. Now, that to me, that's a threat. She's trying to blackmail and extort the insurance companies. That is political corruption. It is naked. It is right there. And then right across the aisle, as she's threatening the health insurance companies, there we have almost the gangster in chief, if you want to call him, the mafia don of the House of Representatives, Charlie Rangel. Lionized by the New York Times and the Washington Post for years as this great civil rights leader, a great liberal, almost the akin of Ted Kennedy, a liberal lion. Well, now, big-time sexy Charlie, we've now found out that Charlie Rangel has been hiding money. Charlie Rangel has not been disclosing money. He's the congressman from Harlem. Well, for a congressman from Harlem making, what, $160,000, $170,000 a year, Charlie has done very well for himself. He has a house in the Dominican Republic, we've just found out. He just sold a condominium in Florida. He's got 4 apartments in New York City that he's getting rental income from. He's made a lot of money on stocks and mutual bonds, playing the stock market, and none of that was disclosed. For between 2002 and 2006, we've now just found out there's an ethics investigation. House Ethics Committee's been investigating him. There's been a cloud over him. And now they have found out he never disclosed any of that income. He's a tax cheat. He's a fraud. He's a swindler. So, you see, you have to pay your taxes, kicking down your door, and you have to pay every last penny. But no, not for these not for these apparatchiks, for these gangsters that run Washington, D.C. So there you have Sexy Charlie. Now, literally swindling the American taxpayer. Corruption at its absolute worst. Here is a man who's he's a thief. There's no other word for it. He has basically been stealing money and then and not disclosing it to the American people and basically cheating the American government out of tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And I want to know where he got the money for his sexy villa in the Dominican Republic or his sexy condo in Florida or all that rental income. But according to Charlie Rangel, what's the problem? Roll it, boys.
There may be a reason for Rangel's arrogance. CBS 2 has discovered that since ethics probes began last year, the 79-year-old congressman has given campaign donations to 119 members of Congress, including 3 of the 5 Democrats on the House Ethics Committee who are charged with investigating him. Charlie's angels on the House Ethics Committee include Congressman Ben Chandler of Kentucky, G.K. Butterfield of North Carolina, and Peter Welch of Vermont, who have all received donations from Rangel.
I recognize that all of you have an obligation to ask questions knowing that there's none of you smart enough to frame it in such a way that I'm going to respond.
Can you believe this guy? The arrogance of this guy. We can't ask him a smart enough question to get an answer from him? And did you catch? And the other thing is, the other revelation that's just come out, he's been taking campaign contributions and then siphoning it off to people, his friends and cronies on the ethics committee, the very people that are supposed to be investigating him. Those are basically kickbacks. He's basically, that's hush money. Here are my campaign contributions. Let me throw it into your accounts so you guys are okay for your reelection. You sure you want to investigate me that hard? This is political gangsterism at its absolute worst. Yet the liberals, like Nancy Pelosi and Charlie Rangel and Barack Obama, keep talking about social justice, the poor, the weak, when in reality, they are bleeding this country white. They are stealing from people like you and people like me. And you know what? It is precisely this arrogance that I believe is going to destroy the Democrats. You know what? It was arrogance. It was the likes of Jack Abramoff and Tom DeLay and all these other corrupt Republicans that cost them control of Congress in 2006. Well, my friends, it's only 2009. They're barely 3 years into their majority. But you mark my words, it is this corruption that is going to cost Democrats their majorities in both the House and the Senate. I want to hear from you. Is corruption out of control? Should Charlie Rangel step down from the House Ways and Means Committee? Is he a crook? And is Nancy Pelosi a political thug? I want to hear from you. 1-800-449-8255. 1-800-449-8255. This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, sitting in for the living legend, Michael Savage, on the Savage Nation. Savage.
910 at 9:10 a.m. on 910 a.m. The new generation of talk radio is coming.
This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, sitting in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. Should Congressman Charlie Rangel step down from the House Ways and Means Committee, the primary committee that's responsible for writing our tax laws? The Washington Post today, in fact, wrote an editorial asking that he should step down. Should there even be a recall vote? I want to hear from you. 1-800-449-8255. Let's go to Richard in San Francisco. Richard, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yeah, hi, Jeff. First of all, as far as Charlie Rangel, I don't think he should step down. I think he should be in prison. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, let me tell you, this stimulus package and all this that's going on, it shouldn't surprise you. Obama, Pelosi, Reid, they all work for George Soros. Now, Michael has talked about the fact that George Soros almost collapsed the monetary fund in England. He's going to do the same thing here. He's going to collapse our dollar. And he benefits from this, and George Soros and Pelosi and Reid are all going to do the same. So this shouldn't surprise you. They want to do it.
No, Richard, you're right. This shouldn't surprise us. George Soros is a vicious, anti-American, radical left-winger who has despised this country for decades. And to me, what I find particularly sickening is, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but having parents and grandparents. My father was a year and a half in a concentration camp, 3 years in a communist concentration camp. He was persecuted by the Nazis. George Soros, who is, I don't care, but he is Jewish. Many of his family were persecuted by Nazis. He came to America, and this was the land of opportunity. And he fled communism. And he basically was given a wonderful opportunity. He made a ton of money. He became extremely rich, basically a billionaire by manipulating the international currency market. And rather than being grateful for the country that took him in, for the country that gave him refuge from the greatest system of mass murder ever invented, where his family members and his relatives were being butchered, first by the Nazis and then by the communists, he comes here, makes billions of dollars, and then turns on this country and stands there and calls us a terrorist nation.